Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's match of Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. I am RokuBAX here, and we have a race for you tonight of patorikku13 versus Pookie. Both of these runners are pretty good at the game, and as we know, Pookie's kind of set himself up this week for kind of 3 races back to back nightly. So this is his second out of 3 for this week at least. I know he raced against you, was it yesterday? If I can introduce my other commentator here, Leggy Starscream. Pookie raced against you yesterday, correct?
Yeah, Pookie and I raced yesterday. Unfortunately, his controller wasn't working, so was dealing with tech issues in addition to me actually having one of my best runs of this game of all time. So we'll see what kind of show he puts off tonight, because it does look like he's back on controller.
He is definitely back on controller. He still did pretty well, having not used keyboard and mouse before. So, man, becoming a double threat in this tournament real quick.
Oh yeah, no, and I imagine tonight I don't know how much anime you watch.
A decent bit.
But there's always that classic scene I go to refer to in Naruto, where Rock Lee takes off the training weights and starts running circles around his opponent. And I wonder if that's what we're going to see tonight.
I love that scene. I can't wait to see this. Pulling up the times, the most recent times that speedrun.com has for this. We do have Pookie G sitting at a 209 here, 209.18, and if I can try and find patorikku here in this wall of runners at an hour 56. So this does have heavy potential to be an extremely close race. So extremely close race overall. And as we see, they're getting started. So I hope you guys, I know I usually hand out this PSA beforehand of, getting your popcorn and drinks. We're kind of sitting down for a movie here. Run being about 2 hours. But,
yeah. And looking at prior records, patorikku was able to drop a 203 the other night against Funk Nasty.
Oh. People left and right pulling out PBs. Can we just bring that to attention? We've had 2 PBs from Funk Nasty on stream. You almost PB'd with that run of Chaos. Decided to be a little bit nicer. You would have had probably a sub 2 hour there. And then in my first race here, I PB'd as well. So plenty of PBs coming out on stream. So
but yeah, as we see, we're getting started. Patorikku is cropped a little bit closer than Pookie, so we can't quite read all of that sweet, juicy FF1 lore. And we'll have time to go over it some other time.
It doesn't matter anyway. The way that I play this game is world travel adventurers arrive with exactly the right item at exactly the right time. So, lore is subjective. But here we actually see our first encounters for Garland, which is very interesting on the location here. Pookie might actually not get... They're both probably not getting the Chaos Shrine encounter here, due to the fact they did get... I did not know that either, so I'm going to refer to him as Lukey if that's the case. But...
Works for me.
So, thank you for bringing that up. But as we can see the Garland encounter starting up, Garland can be a little bit nasty one-shotting those black mages, but Lukey taking it down with relatively 0 issue. That one black mage sitting at 3 HP, and patorikku right behind him, both under a 4-minute Garland here. Looked to be about a 356. So, a good start to the run so far. And we did rescue the princess.
Yep, princess rescued, going to get the most epic of loots.
Personally, I'd prefer it to be a guitar, as that's what I grew up playing, but I guess a lute will work this time.
Well, you see, this loot is epic.
It's a chaos lute. It's a crazy lute. And
Eh. Let's not worry about the loot's mental health for now. But yeah, both of our runners having pretty solid run of things. Getting to the bridge, our runners are going to see 3, sometimes 2 if they're lucky, encounters on the way to Provoca. They'll be looking for some high guild encounters along the way. Specifically, anything involving ogres is incredible.
yeah, ogres provide that really good EXP to gold ratio. I've kind of memorized how much EXP they give because it's 1 EXP per 1 gold. So I think it's 100. The total number's like 197 for 1 ogre.
Yeah, and they also give incredible XP. Currently, our mages still don't have any AoE magic, so any big packs are typically not preferable.
Definitely not, especially with wolves just kind of being a speedy encounter, so it's a little hard to run away from them at times. At least from what I've seen, and they can just do a lot of damage if they show up in that 9-pack. And that's definitely not fun to see. But now we're here sitting in our next big cutscene. So I guess now I'll hand out the PSA. Grab your popcorn, grab your sodas, grab your favorite snack. We're in for a little bit of a run here. And we can see that Pookie's ever so slightly ahead by like a bar and a half of text. So
yeah, this is starting off really, really close. But of course, the moment we start seeing encounters, we'll start seeing some of that variance come into play.
That is true, and depending on what encounters you take / don't take, can change the run a lot. I've seen a lot of variation and questionable decisions, at least from my end, of just why do you take that encounter or why don't you take, this encounter. And it's usually down to runner preference.
Yeah, runner preference, and also, how well various runners have their, monster manual memorized, because there's some enemies in this game that have sneaky high amounts of XP and gil on them.
Yeah, it is absolutely crazy.
A pair of wolves is not that.
No, but that ogre and that worm and the I guess worm are though. Definitely an encounter that you do want.
Yep. Patorikku getting, what I consider to be the god encounter for this walk.
So what would the devil encounter be then? The 4 crazy horses?
That or a 9-pack of wolves.
Touché. Wolves are always evil, but Pookie not looking, to be rolling around that gold, running into more wolves.
Yeah, I will say that the finding ogres on this walk tends to be a bit on the rarer side. So I would say Riku's gotten better luck, whereas Pookie's got about what I'd expect.
Touché, and I mean, although ogres are a decent encounter, let's be honest, the encounter we're most looking forward to are the Buccaneer encounters of being a 3-pack or a 5-pack, and we'd love to see that 5-pack as our only ocean encounter.
Yeah, as you can see the difference between Riku and Pookie, coming through here. Riku's got about 100 more gil in his pocket, so that's something that can compound really well early on. You know, if you can buy a few more potions going into Marsh Cave, maybe you have to grind a little bit less. Maybe you can go in and get out of a slightly nastier encounter. This game is really just a rolling thing of how well can we get the RNG to play out. The other one, of course, to pay attention to is our runner's HP totals, where we can see that Riku has definitely got the stronger HP growth so far, including an extra strong HP level on the fighter in particular, which is really good here early on. That fighter might be able to take 4 hits from Pisco Demons, which is, you know, a miracle, because they can hit for 1 or 2 with each attack.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Pisco Demons in a little bit. Being kind of the first hurdle, we definitely need to address the elephant that is the Pisco Demons. But Pookie picking up that leather shield.
Yeah, it's a nice little drop. It also adds to that fighter's sustainability. You know, it doesn't matter if you have all the hit points in the world, if all of them oh, hello, pirates!
Hey, yes, we were talking about that Buccaneer encounter earlier, and it is the best Buccaneer encounter. 600 gold sitting right there in front of your face. And they go down actually pretty easily. So...
Ooh, I like this use of the temper to allow the melee fighters to be able to one-shot these. Though, the Black Mage does go down, which is unfortunate.
Yes, however, in the grand scheme of things, if I'm looking at my party, one Black Mage going down isn't necessarily the end of the run for me. Patorikku also getting a 5 encounter Buccaneers and having the same Black Mage go down. But,
yeah.
Back, tangent aside, it's not the worst thing to happen, but I'd much rather see the warrior go down than the black mage. And if that monk goes down, that's most likely a reset if I'm doing PB attempts here.
This stage of the game, you know, the XP thresholds are so low compared to the end game that I view the monk and the fighter to be about equal in terms of how much I value them staying alive right now. I value getting XP on my black mages extremely highly in this early game because some of the level thresholds that I want to hit coming up are extremely tight.
Yeah, you do have to worry about those spell slots, and that's kind of where I guess our differences come in here. I'm not necessarily I care about those spell slots, but if I have 3 Firagas and instead of 4, we'll just say to give numbers be numbers, Lich isn't going to really play out any differently there.
Yeah, whereas I will sit there and I will grind that extra level.
Yeah, and you know, it does work. You do have a chance of running into that 30 intelligence there, and we have actually seen that in quite a few runs here, 30 intelligence at Lich. So you do get those stronger levels.
Yeah. And, you know, it's all about runner comfort, runner preference, and, you know, how they want to move through things. Pookie getting through both Black Mages down, but gets another pirate encounter, so that'll make up for it money-wise.
Sorry. Go ahead. I was just gonna say most definitely, especially in Voka where it's only like I think 40 to revive unless it scales with level.
It does not. It's a fixed amount at each location. And the real thing that is always terrifying for me is, like, if a Black Mage dies and I'm near Provoca or I'm near Corneria, you know, that's no big deal. If the Black Mage dies and I'm near Elfland, that's 200 gil down the drain, which is a massive pile of money at this stage of the game.
Most definitely, especially when you want as much money going into Marsh Cave as possible, just to grab those antidotes and potions.
Yeah, interesting that Pookie is taking a little bit of time to sit back and grind outside of Corneria. Might be a little shy after the double Black Mages went down, wanting to make up a little bit of that experience, but also in case one of them gets punched out again, you're near the cheap spot to revive. I don't actually hate this. Like, I haven't seen this before, but I think this is actually a really heads-up play.
Yeah, no, he definitely did that in your race as well, just kind of grinding outside of Cornelia. And he even stated it's just in case any character goes down. So instead of paying that $200, $200, it's now 40, which is a lot more manageable, as you said.
Yeah, Riku coming through with the 2100 gil. That's enough for an instay, a copy of Thundara, and 1,000 gil supplies. If I'm Riku right now, I am skipping my way over to the item shop and then going face first directly into that marsh cave.
Oh yeah, 1,000 gil. I mean, I grind for 1,800 just for a little bit of extra safety, a couple of extra potions, really.
Yeah,
but with as much experience as you do, as patorikku does, you're perfectly fine at 1,000 and maybe even less.
Yeah, picking up 2/10s, which I really like in this sort of race environment. Camping gear is a little bit slow in this game, especially compared to other games. It takes about 10 seconds to use a tent or a house. But here in particular, I really like it. It provides a little bit of extra safety because you can use the Thundara to clear through some of these larger, nasty packs, and then tent outside of Marsh Cave to refill those charges. I personally tend not to unless I'm like absolutely flush with cash to the level that patorikku was here. But, I actually do really like this play, especially in a race setting.
Yep, tenting outside of Marsh Cave is always... However, before I actually continue on, we do have a question in chat. Mechanics-wise, what are your thoughts for the Pixel Remaster? I personally love the mechanics behind Pixel Remaster. It's the easiest one that I've gotten into by far.
Yeah, so what versions of this game have you played? I actually don't know.
So, for me personally, I haven't really played that many. I have the PlayStation Portable version, and I've sat there and played it, but I only ever got to Elfheim. But sitting down and playing this one, and comparing it to the PlayStation Portable version one, I felt a lot more comfortable sitting and being in Elfheim in this version in particular versus the PlayStation Portable version, where I felt like I was always in danger.
Yeah, whereas I come from a fairly storied history of speedrunning various versions of this game. So when I'm playing the PSP version and I'm getting to Elfheim, I'm just like, oh yeah, no, I'm feeling great. I've got, Knight's Armors on everyone. I've got Judgment Staves on everyone right now. We're just schmoovin'.
Yeah, no, that wasn't me. That was me seeing ogres and being terrified because they could two-shot my party.
Yeah. It's a very different experience when you're playing this casually versus, speedrunning it.
Yeah,
So from a speedrunner's point of view, in particular, I think that the mechanics of FF1 Pixel Remaster in particular are really interesting because they're unlike any other version of FF1 between how petrification works, the fact that you have ethers and spell charges, so that you've got like this hybrid of the NES magic system and the GBA and PSP magic system. And the biggest change of all, which we will see later on, is that in prior versions of FF1, enemies that had spells and abilities had a static script they went through. They did their spells in order. Lich, for example, would always either punch you or open up with Blizzara. Those were the two things Lich would do turn 1. And if he casts Blizzara, the next time he casts a spell, he casts the next spell on his list, which I forget what it is, because I'm usually dead because Blizzara. And so the fact that this game allows enemies to cast whatever spell they want at whatever time they want is both really interesting, because it means that some former walls are very much less so for speedrunning. Lich 1 is honestly a lot safer. However, it does mean that some things are a bit spicier.
Chaos.
Sorry, I coughed there. Did it sound anything like chaos?
No, but I'm just gonna assume that you met the big guy at the end with the C. Meanwhile, Patorikku and took forever to get back to this, beating Paisos, seeming like he didn't have much trouble there. So
right. The Pisco Demons remind me that there's 2 other big changes between this and prior versions of the game that actually have a major impact on the speedrun.
I know one is trap tiles, as we can kind of see. I think in other versions, the Pisco Demons would actually be on the encounter right before you open the chest. However, now the encounter is now on the chest, and
it means that there were a lot of grind tiles that people would walk over again and again and again and again, repeating that encounter over and over and over to get really good experience. The Agabas in the volcano and the Evil Eye in Ice Cave are the 2 big ones worth mentioning. Now that those are on chests / key items, that particular mechanic isn't really a thing anymore. And the other thing is that in all prior versions of FF1, that Pisco Demon encounter has anywhere from 2 to 4 Pisco Demons in it. Here, it is a fixed encounter. It is always 4 Piscos. And I have mixed feelings about this, because on the one hand, you can't get lucky and just see 2. On the other hand,
you always know what it's going to be.
Right, so you're not sitting there resetting for the 2. And then the other thing is that you can get ambushed or get the first strike on any non-boss enemy pack. You can also run away from any non-fixed encounter, which was not true in all prior versions of FF1.
Apparently, I'm looking at elementals for that, I heard.
Elementals, Pisco Demons, when they reappear, are unrunnable. There's also like an Ogre and Hellhound pack outside of the on-rack area that was unrunnable. Most dragon fights were unrunnable. Like, there's a long list of encounters that you had to memorize, because the game would not tell you that they were unrunnable. And the fact that they took this away is the greatest bit of accessibility that FF1 has ever done.
Understandable. But Lukey beating his Pisco Demons at the cost of one of his Black Mages, however, picking up that rewinding this little bit, if I could rewind the run, picking up that Phoenix down, having it survive, and then Patorikku getting to Astos, but the monk is dead, and Astos is not seeming like he wants to be friendly.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways you can go through Astos. If you have 2 copies of Thundara, I occasionally see people just start blasting with lightning magic. I really like the new meta that's evolved in fairly recent times of buying the early temper and using it on your physical fighters to get that damage. Astos, of course, is rough because in fixed scripts, that Fyra that you see coming out is like his 5th spell. So you've got like 4 turns basically to go ham. Or more if he punches. Whereas in this version, you kind of have to really plan around the AoE magic coming out way earlier than you expect.
And as you can see, that AoE magic destroying Luki's team on that side, and meanwhile, death coming out for Patorikku. I hate that spell on Astos. It always seems to target the one person I don't want them to target.
Yeah, the other thing to pay attention to here is that Astos is worth, like, an absolute massive pile of experience. Up until now, of all the encounters we could encounter, defeating Astos is the single most experience points we can get from an encounter at this stage of the game. Having both your Black Mages alive to get those experience points, even if everyone else is dead, is, in my opinion, critical for this run.
Understandable. My point goes the same, but with the monk here. I value just the monk levels too much to kind of have him die at Astos. It's not a fun sight to see.
Yeah.
But this is one of the things that I do like about the run, is that there's a healthy debate on, you know, what is better and what isn't better.
And we do see Luki getting through Astos, our first runner through, at just over 25 and a half minutes. A respectable time for, you know, a tournament no reset setting.
Yeah,
to be very clear.
Most definitely, and Patorikku coming up right behind him.
Ooh. 11 HP and a dream. As far as characters go, getting all those experience points on that fighter is the literal worst outcome, in my opinion. But it looks like Riku has just had enough of the King of the Dark Elves, and is just like, you know what? I just gotta go. I just gotta get out of here, cut my losses.
Exactly. And within a tournament setting, I can imagine, you know, sitting that long at Astos, you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, the other person's probably finished it at this point. There's, you know, because you have to respect, you know, the other runner as well. Just, you know, being this a tournament setting.
Yeah.
They're definitely not a bad runner.
Oh yeah, no, like, both of these runners are quite skilled, and, you know, only getting better with all the experience they're getting from doing these runs. But
we see
yeah, the other thing...
up, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. The other thing to pay attention to at this point in the game is, like, okay, now that we're out of Astos, you know, we've got fetch quests to do. Patorikku dealing with a rough wolf encounter, sitting there for what must have felt like an eternity. But what we're really looking for here is our money. Any money we can get is just gravy at this point. We're going to be doing shopping in a little bit, but we're also going to pick up a bunch of stuff to sell. And usually, most runners will sell everything they have in their inventory and spend all the money on the resources they need to get through Earth Cave. So any money we can pick up that we can convert into more ethers and potions is going to be useful. The other thing to pay attention to is level 12 is when we get our first level 5 charge, which allows our Black Mages to cast Firaka. Getting level 5 on your Black Mage before you get into Vampire turns that fight into a one-rounder. So I know that for a lot of runners, myself included, the ideal outcome is getting there.
Definitely. I didn't see anybody pick this up, but there is argument for picking up Fyra as well, being able to help out in Earth Cave. And as far as Ice Cavern as well.
Yeah. There's definitely an argument there. I'm personally deep on the camp of more consumables at this point, and Thundara will carry me. Just because, you know, Fyra is another 1,000 gil investment. Though I do know some runners really appreciate it, and having that extra bit of utility and having extra options at that level 3 spell slot can be really useful.
Yeah. However, this is definitely what I would call a lull in the game. One out of two major kind of like slow points where you can just kind of sit back and relax. You got over the first couple of hurdles that were Pisco Demons and Astos. And Astos definitely showing that he is, in fact, not to be messed with.
Yeah. And, like, it's at this point that I'm usually just, like, trying to wrap my head around and start mentally prepping myself for Earth Cave. You know, like, yeah, I've got a bunch of fetch questing to do, but at this point, encounters on the ocean aren't scary at all. You're running around, you'll be getting some better gear. I'm doing a little bit of shopping, too. Which is also important. We'll see how our runners decide to spend their money.
Yeah, but we could see that Lukey has been running into a lot of Buccaneer encounters. Has to be happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just free money.
Totally is, especially at this point when you have Thundara cast as well, and all those Buccaneers just go down. That's just a free 600 gold staring you directly in the face, and you say, "Thank you very much, come again."
Yep. And there's a couple of, you know, different ways that you can handle encounters here. I usually just try to run through this section of the game as fast as I can. You know, I'll leave one of my Black Mages casting Thundara, just in case I need to get out of a nasty encounter, but for the most part, everyone else is running. Depending on how much money our runners have, we might see one or both of them holding on to a little bit of gold coming out of the Corneria item shop. If we see our runners with, you know, that like 2,000, 3,000 gold left in their pocket, they're probably saving up to buy a silver armlet, which is armor for the Black Mage when they get to Melmond, which is really useful for that Earth Cave survivability. Of course, depending on where you're at, there's also the argument to just, again, turn it all into consumables. Consumables are king in this game.
Most definitely, and I think one of the major things you have to realize when picking up spells, as we see Lukey picking up his haste here, he only picks up one, which is an interesting choice. Not something that I personally agree with, because I like having the safety of that second one. But picking up that haste here and the early tempers means that when you first get your airship, you don't have to come back to Elfheim, you don't have to come back to Provoca, saving you a little bit of time there.
Yeah. On the other hand, you know, that is 2,500 gil that you've invested in spells that you really aren't going to be casting until Sea Shrine or later. I
mean, I'd say Tiamat. I haven't really seen a lot of people unstone the monk for Kraken.
Same. I do know it's an option that some people go for. But you know, I think it's definitely less popular of a play.
Definitely. I can see its merits having, you know, earlier run like before I got onto the double Black Mage, you know, bandwagon, running Red Mage and keeping that monk, you do have those haste and tempers there to come up and punch hard, but
yeah,
with the double Black Mage, Undaga just does way too much work.
Yeah. We'll see how our runners spread out their money into consumables here. For me, the dream is at least 20 ethers, at least 30 potions, a pair of gold needles, a pair of Phoenix Downs, antidotes if I need a few.
Yeah, although antidote's not, like, I'm gonna say this and watch just, you know, everything poison everybody now. Antidote's not really needed for too much longer in the game, though. Earth Cave's gonna kind of be the last spot where we run into a whole bunch of enemies that can poison you.
Yeah, which is why, you know, if I haven't really burned through a bunch at this point of the game, you know, I'm not worried about picking up extra. But if I'm on Patorikku's side and, you know, I've only got one, you know, I want like half a dozen. And then, you know, I'm not going to worry about buying anymore.
That's a fair number.
But yeah, Patorikku's shopping is very much what I like to see, whereas Pookie definitely has a lot fewer in the way of ethers, looking at just about 10.
If he's comfortable with that, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it works out for him. And you know, obviously, you know, if you're going forward in a tournament setting, you are probably already comfortable with, you know, like, okay, this is a loadout that I personally enjoy.
Most definitely. But, I'm with you. Stick that 20 to 25 ether mark, please. I like my mages casting spells.
Like, when I'm doing speedruns, if I'm low on money, I can make do with 15, but having the extra 5 makes a huge difference in my book.
Oh, yeah.
And loot going 5 down from there is just...
A little mind-boggling?
Yeah, that is doing some strategies that I personally am not super familiar with.
Maybe he's trying to give us some spicy plays to talk about here. I know he was talking about bringing some spice to the tournament. So,
yeah. And, like, it's definitely a risky play, because, you know, you are down that little bit of extra money. So, like I was talking about, you don't have the resources that you would otherwise have. We'll see how he's navigating it. Because both of our runners are just, you know, off siloed from each other, they don't necessarily know what the other one's up to. I mean, they might be watching, I don't know. I know that I personally
Pato, Lukey, if you're watching, type something in chat.
Yeah, I know that I personally come from rando racing, where watching, you know, the restreamer your opponent is considered cheating, and so I'm just not in the practice of using that little bit of extra cognitive information.
Yeah, I personally don't watch, because if I was watching, I'd be 10 times as more stressed than I already am in the run.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I am just way more interested in, okay, I just want to go, I just want to put on the best run I can. I know how to go fast, I know where, I am willing to gamble.
Exactly, and, like, I just watched the timer, and if it hits 2 hours, I start getting nervous. Because, there are plenty of racers in here that have kind of that 210... below an hour to 210, 215 mark, so...
Yeah, imagine being below 2 hours. That must be nice.
I can't! I'm sitting over here with a 218 right now, I think, so...
You'll get there. I have faith. Good Money says you'll get it before me.
Thank you? But, nah, I wouldn't be surprised if you got, you know, got the sub 2 hour here within, you know, a month.
Yeah, that of course, you know...
At the latest.
In the other group, I'm glad I dodged those bullets, because... Hoo boy! You know...
Yeah.
If I'm up against Thundercloud, I'm getting nervous when it starts hitting 140.
Yeah, the other group definitely has, like, Ryuchu, Shanezel, Thunderclad, and I know FF Steve's in that group. I want to pick his brain on how he's feeling about this.
Yeah. For context, the names we just mentioned are like, you know, top 2 through 5 in this game.
And then FF Steve being about roughly, I think, started around the same time I did. So we're both in this tournament, having run this for maybe a month and a half at this point.
Yeah,
a couple months maybe. So
yeah, and I've been here since day one. Of note, getting back to the game, Patorikku found Lesser Tigers. Really great encounter, really important if you can get the item drop off it. It's an X potion. It's like the only good way to get more than the 3 pieces of healing we're going to take into the Chaos fight. Did not get it, but you will see our runners taking each and every one of those fights that they see because it is just so critical.
Yeah, it's a weird encounter too because it can do a lot of damage to you. So it's had a bit of a risk, but risk is well worth the rewards if they drop. So,
and then Patorikku gets one of the black mages, only 80 HP on him, just hit for over 100, and flat out.
Yeah, meanwhile, one of Lukey's black mages just above 100 HP, so a little bit of a stronger HP roll on that black mage there.
Yeah, neither of our runners having, really, really good black mage HP here. The goal is, by the time we get to Lich, we want to see that 130, ideally closer to 140 mark on the mages. Just because Lizara hurts. Lizara hurts a lot.
I mean, any of Lich's spell hurt a lot.
Yeah. But, like, the others only do, like, max 120 or something. Whereas Lizara can high roll up to, like, 150.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Like, the 130, 140 mark is, I will survive any 2 of Lich's non-Blizzara spells. Alright, new encounter watch. We are looking for...
Cockatrices! We've got them on Lukey's screen.
Birds! Birds! Yeah. We want our melees to get petrified. This will allow them to draw attacks without taking any damage, which is great. They'll also just keep getting XP, which is also great.
Not in the Warriors case. We don't... Like, honestly, if he just stops gaining EXP, like, that'd be absolutely phenomenal, but...
Yeah.
We still need him to tank things.
Honestly, if I was the one in charge of toggling whether or not petrified characters got XP, I'd leave them getting XP. I like this way better. I will take the extra member soaking a fraction of the experience over needing to babysit the monk while they level up.
Yeah, that's definitely true there. I do like the fact that they do gain EXP, just... Warrior has done his job now, and like I said yesterday, if you've read like the Great Lakes Avengers at all, if you're into comics, there is one specific character that's like 2D man or something, like Doorman or something. The thing is, he's basically as thin as a sheet of paper, so he ends up leaving the group, coming back, and like so. Well, he doesn't come back, but they bring him back, but they have a cardboard cutout of him, and they just carry that around everywhere. That's what I imagine, like, the stoned warriors doing. It's now just a cardboard cutout.
Right.
He's finally retired. He says, "I'm done with this." But that's what I like to imagine there.
But yeah, Lukey in a really good spot overall. Our runners having very comparable HP between the 2 black mages. But Pookie having that, petrified team already is going to give a little bit of the advantage right now.
Definitely, especially now that you have to do less menuing, because it, only have to do half the party of menuing.
Yep.
And moving on to the vampire here.
Though I am getting a little worried about Luki's ether count. He's already down to 9.
Might be potentially thinking about running from a lot of the encounters afterwards, potentially tenting, or having a cottage here.
That is also fair.
Cottaging before going back into Earth Cave. I know that's a run choice there for a little bit of extra safety.
It definitely makes a lot of sense if that's the play. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm always worried because it's this run out where I feel the experience crunch the hardest. Yeah,
just because wherever you get close, when you get closer to Lich, we're looking for at least level 15 on the Black Mages for that third cast. And ideally, we want our Firagas here to hit for 190-ish. That way we 3-turn Lich.
Yeah, even if only one of the mages hits that threshold, you can still get the 3-turn because your other ones are doing about 180. And Lich has 1200 HP, so, if you've got one strong and one weak, you're doing about 400, which times 3 is exactly enough.
Yeah. Except
I can do it!
Whenever I have something go 190, 180, and then 190 again, I always have to end up using a Thundara for whatever reason.
Yep. Honestly, I should show you one of the most cursed videos I have of this game at some point, where Lich kills my party after surviving with like single-digit HP. It was heart-wrenching.
That tugs at my soul, and I want to see it. But we see Luki going into the single thunders here, kind of dipping into those lower spells. I get clearing some spell slots for when there's a tent or cottage, I guess. Making better use there. And we finally have Patorikku getting his Warrior Monk stoned as well. Now we just kind of don't want to see cockatrices anymore. They can go extinct for all we care. They did their job.
Yeah, but luckily, just like Pokemon, you can clip a bird's wings with a blast of electricity.
Weird how Pokemon logic works in, like, every game you play. You have a dragon on screen? Cast an ice spell. It works!
Yeah, you say that, but then, have you tried to use Flamethrower on a fire type? Have you tried to use Ice Beam on a fire type? It doesn't quite work as well as it does in this one.
Fair enough. That is 100% true there. I cannot say anything against that.
Yeah, but we do see Luki using the tent right outside. Definitely one of the safe strats for getting through the space that I'm familiar with.
Especially since he's on such a low ether count. He's got to make sure that he has enough ethers to get up to 3 Firagas for Lich, that or a cottage, and has to make sure not to use those at that point.
Yeah. The thing to pay attention to here is when I was doing this, the thing I'd be thinking about is like, okay, if I'm using the tent, I want to restore 2 charges of Firaga and 2 charges of Thundaga. Without fail. And so, like, I would spend a lot of careful maneuvering, both running out of Earth Cave and on my way to Sarda's hut and back, trying to be very careful about which spells I was casting so that when I needed to tent, I got the maximum use of it, which is basically worth 4 ethers total. 2 for both mages.
Yeah. Which, I mean, 10 seconds. Oh, well, Black Mage goes down.
Oh no.
But yeah, Patorikku tenting. Sorry for cutting you off there.
Yeah, I was holding my breath for the X potion drop.
Ah.
Yeah.
We pray for that 4% chance, but every time. But as Trenton has stated earlier, do not do math on Twitch. It will always be wrong.
Trust me, I'm not running the odds. I'm just praying to our Jesus.
Yeah. So. Oh, we got more lesser tigers here. Sad.
Yeah. You always hold your breath for a moment. Our runner's high-fiving here in the Giants Tunnel going opposite directions.
They're tag teaming.
Yeah. You know, like, the running high-five? Where you just, like, run at each other and high-five. I like to imagine that's what our runners just did.
Well, it definitely makes sense. They're going fast and they just passed each other, so...
Yeah.
On your left, Cap.
But yeah, looks like Patorikku is a little over a minute behind right now in terms of just step-by-step pacing.
That, like, a minute behind is a decent amount, but in this run in particular, with just so many more hurdles happening, Lich, Team at 1, any of the, you know, Fiendry fights, and especially Chaos, 1 minute is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, 100% for sure. Like, you know, it is useful to pay attention to, so we have an idea of how far or behind a given runner is, but yeah, like chat says, there's plenty of ways this lead changes.
Most definitely. This is up until the end, you know, the final punch of chaos. This run can change leads in any number of ways.
We're here to kill chaos, and the run's not over until chaos is dead.
Yeah, except for some reason it keeps coming back. It's almost like there's a time loop.
Right.
Or we just restart up the game. I don't know which it is. So,
yeah, like, no matter what happens, no matter who's ahead, who's behind, this race is not over until that last hit. Anything can happen between now and then.
Exactly. Patorikku doing what I talked about earlier about cottaging up outside before the second dive into Earth Cave. I do like the cottage there. It's a little bit of safety. 10 seconds, but 10 seconds for max HP on all your characters, max spell charges. I'll take that.
Yeah, the other thing to consider with cottages in particular is that they sell for 1,000 gil a pop. So one of the things I personally have been doing is holding on to tents, which are cheap. You only get 80 gil if you sell one off. And almost as good. This early on, tents will give all the healing that a cottage would. And yeah, you only get 2 spell charges. But when your spells are capped at 2 and 4 charges respectively, it's not that big of a trade-off in my opinion.
Definitely not, and there is an argument out there that to sell those cottages. I know think one person has, because I don't remember the exact name, but one person has done it where they don't actually use any Tensei Kages and sell all of those for that extra gil to get more of those sweet, sweet ethers and potions.
Yeah, I've been selling all of my cottages, like I said, but I've been holding on to tents for safety. You know, just because, like, here and outside of Ice Cave, just being able to get those 2 extra spell charges if you're running low on resources can be invaluable.
Definitely, and definitely saves you on the ether count going into Lich, where you're going to need all 3 Furaga casts.
Yeah, I like how both of our runners have the same total amount of HP on their black mages, and it's only different by 3 hit points getting distributed to one versus the other.
Yeah. True, and we see that the monk HP right now is at 222 for Patorikku. That's definitely something we want to keep track of. Seeing that relatively at between 350 and 400 is kind of the sweet spot that I see a lot of runners going to Chaos with.
That's the dream. I, at this point, am just happy with anything over 300. But I also tend to take my Chaos fights a little bit riskier than I know a lot of other runners like.
So, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that HP, as that's a very important bit of HP to look at.
Yeah, as we see, you know, our runners just casting Fireball and everything. What is this, D&D night?
I mean, there are spell charges.
For those of you who haven't been aren't super familiar with the FF1 lore, the extra layer of joke is, no, we're pretty sure that FF1 is just the original director's D&D campaign that went off the rails, probably, and he really wanted to get that lore into a game. It is really, really interesting to look at the history of FF1 as a game and its creation, and where all of the, you know, influences and inspirations came from. Again, I know way too much about FF1 as a game. Do not let me distract us from the fact that Luki is on Lich's floor, about to go face that zombie jerkwad. I was trying to think of something that was not going to get me keep off this channel.
You know, you could just say it rhymes with Lich. It rhymes with Lich, and that's all you have to leave it at. But yeah, no, there's a lot of interesting FF1 lore, and I can definitely see, like, if this isn't a D&D campaign already, somebody making one off of it.
Oh yeah, like, you know, you think about it, if, for those of you who are familiar with D&D, you look at those Pisco demons and you're like, I've seen a Mind Flayer in my day. Actually,
they
TSR,
have Mind Flayers here.
Yeah, TSR, the original creators of D&D, sued Square back in the day over some of the sprite work, including the Evil Eye, which is just very obviously a beholder. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, and we'll kind of get back on this tangent later. I have a feeling we're going to go back to that D&D tangent so many times.
Oh yeah.
Runners coming in, battling their respective liches. Pookie a little bit ahead. Lich originally casted slow, so it looks like Lich is playing a little bit nice there.
Yeah, no, you know, with our runners having that bit of variance earlier, it is really cool to see both of them on the Lich fight right now at the same time. Luki through the Lich fight at 58 minutes and 20-ish seconds. We'll see whether or not Patorikku, that Fyra coming out. One of the Black Mages lives. One Firaga charge left. It's coming out. Let's see how much that does. Not enough for lethal. Thundara comes out from Lich. Patorikku goes down. He's going to need to take another attempt.
Lich is, again, one of those walls to the game. If you're trying to go for personal best attempts, that's most likely a reset, especially if you're Patorikku here.
Yeah, like, for me, this game has, like, 3 major white points. If you count everything before Astos as one of those white points.
And yeah, I consider I consider the main hurdles of the game are Demons and Astos, just because those are really close together. Like you get done with one, you're basically onto the it's 2 hurdles kind of combined into one there. So I guess 2 for the price of 1, Grandma. I don't know there. You get a little bit of a lull, but once you reach Earth Cave, you're at the next hurdle until you beat Lich. Meanwhile, Pookie, in what I consider another lull point here, kind of after Lich up until Tiamat 1, as you're just kind of going through, your mages are now kind of strong enough to deal with more or less anything that can be thrown at them. Only really scary encounters are, the ones you get in the canoe.
There are some relatively nasty ones in Ice Cave as well. Like, if I'm going for PB attempts, Ice Cave can be incredibly frustrating to deal with, especially on that bottom floor where you have the forced encounter after the drop. That floor is long enough that if you take a bad wipe, it can really set you back. But yeah, the canoe encounters are nasty. One of the major differences between this game and a lot of previous ones, a topic that I love to harp on, as you know, is that the river encounters are the same everywhere in the world. In prior games, the river system down here around Crescent Lake and just the entire southern continent had a different and easier encounter table.
That's interesting. Sorry, that is actually interesting.
Yeah.
I actually did not know that, especially not ever getting past Elfheim originally. Couldn't experience the power of a canoe.
And so the fact that, we're dealing with these encounters that we really weren't supposed to be seeing until we get the airship, can be a little scary, especially if they start getting a little punchy. At this point, that fighter never becoming unpetrified. We're taking all this stuff off, selling it off. We want 26,000 gil coming out of this item shop to pick up 2 copies of Thundaga. Everything else, well, we're investing that in the tools we're going to need to get us through, at the very least, Ice Cave. I usually try to invest enough to get through Waterfall Cave as well.
Yeah, you kind of lump those 2 caves together, Ice Cave and Waterfall. So,
Patorikku is still having some really rough luck on Lich. Enunciation, kids, it's important.
It's that wall. The Lich is a wall, and he'll move when he wants to.
Yeah,
but
this is why we talk about Lich as this great wall, and why I appreciate in most randomizers for Final Fantasy I, Lich tends to be, a complete pushover instead. Very, just vindicating to roll up with your level 25 party and blast this boy back into, 2,000 years in the past, I guess?
Sure, we'll go with that. Meanwhile, seeing kind of what you can run into on the river here, that white croc is definitely a very scary encounter, decently speedy, and can hit hard, and Patorikku finishing up his Lich finally.
Yeah, especially because Luki, I don't think, has level 16 on those mages yet, which is where you actually get your ability to cast Thundaga. So until you get the Thundaga, you kind of have to take 3-ish spells, I think it is, to take out most river encounters. And that's scary.
Very much so. So that just gives that white croc, as you saw, almost one-shotting a black mage, doing 83 or 87. It was one of those 2 numbers. to the Black Mage and just leaving him alive, but not looking very good.
Yeah, Lukey going into the river after finally hitting level 16 on Arthur, the bottom Black Mage. Getting that first Thundaga charge, which will allow him to take river encounters as he goes. Patorikku taking a moment to stop in the Millwind Inn. I actually really like this, especially given how much in the way of resources you had to burn to get through Lich, and also just for a little bit of safety, is going to come up to the armor shop. We're going to see him selling off the stuff he got and buying 2 silver armlets to give those mages some extra defense. Hopefully this means that if, one of those crocodiles comes a chomping, that mage will be able to survive a little bit better than Lukey's mages are able to. But it does cost a little bit of extra time right now, and, it does eat through your consumable money, which, again, is the big, tension point in how you route this game, because the amount of money you get depends on which encounters you see, depends on which encounters you take. And so knowing when you've got a lot of money for what you want to do versus a little bit of money versus where you can, spend a little bit extra for safety in armor versus safety in gear versus flexibility in magic. There's a lot of calculus that you can't just pre-route and do on the fly. You have to do on the fly.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I always state about Fantasy 1 is that it's kind of a run that's more of adaptation and reaction, just seeing how well you can adapt to a situation, or react and adapt to a situation. I'll put it that way. Make sure that you're getting out, and your monk HP might not be the best. How do you combat that? Do you go out? Do you buy that extra Giant's Tonic? Do you just go ahead and put the monk in the 4th slot and leave it there? Do you run face first into, Tiamat 1 and try to take on an immovable object with an, unrelenting force?
Yeah, and honestly, it's one of my favorite qualities in the speed games I personally prefer, is that sort of reaction and responding to what the game throws at you rather than having, your pre-programmed list of actions to take. Shoutouts to people who run games with step routes. You have powers deeply beyond my ken.
Yeah, patience galore of just learning that.
Yeah, if you watched me in this tournament, you see how many times I just randomly run off in a wrong direction. I can't do a step route to save my life.
You and me both. But meanwhile, Pookie almost halfway through Ice Cave, taking that forced encounter on that drop below, as you were talking about earlier. Just kind of in that one floor. So we'll see how it does.
And here's another point of variance we will want to pay attention to. We see Lukey going into the side room where there's 2 chests that you can loot that have some really nice stuff in it. But, they're out of the way. That's extra steps. That's extra time. Plus, both of these chests have monsters in them. And, again, great experience. White dragons are really easy to blast down with a couple of Fyragas. They're worth a lot of experience. But
they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah. You get the ice armor. It sells really well. You get the mithril gloves. Those sell well. But it's time that you could have spent just plowing through the ice cave. And, it's going to be this battle of, okay, how much in the way of resources do I want versus how fast do I just want to sprint to the finish line at this point. Honestly, at this point, there are 9 chests that I would argue are mandatory to open. 11 if you don't get X potions dropping. Everything else is optional. Everything else comes down to runner safety. We see Lukey taking a turn to the right as opposed to the left. On the left, there's another room with 6 treasure boxes, 2 of which are trapped, but all of which contain gil. Picking up a box with an ether in it. In the room below, there's a box with 10k gil. Ice Cave has a lot of really good loot that you can pick up to give yourself the resources you need for the rest of the game. But it's a little bit out of the way. It takes time. It runs you into some encounters that you'll need to spend resources on. And they take time to get through. So this is, one of those really interesting things. Because if Patorikku doesn't go and get the ice armor, that's time he's making up. But that's also experience and money he's not getting.
Most definitely. Main issue, well, not issue, but choice is just, how comfortable are you, or do you want that kind of little bit of extra HP? Because now you're kind of getting to the point where you're going to start getting those really high EXPs. We're not that far off from Sea Shrine. We're not that far off from, the Flying Fortress, believe it or not. And we're actually not that far off from Chaos Shrine. Still a decent ways to go there, but not as far off as you think.
Yeah. The other thing of note here is, this is where really the press your luck parts of Final Fantasy 1 really come into play. Because, stopping to heal takes time. However, if you don't heal, your black mages are squishy. And if you get bad damage rolls from enemies, they can take you out. They might cause a wipe if you don't heal. So that tension of, okay, when do I stop to heal? How much HP can I keep running forward into the next encounter bravely with is another point of tension that we'll see our runners go through, and whether they want to play it risky and heal up between encounters, or play it safe and heal up, play it risky and go. Yeah, that's how that works.
Oh no, you could play it risky and heal up. Depends on how you look at timing. If you're far ahead, like, you can consider the safe play healing, but that could also be a risky play because that's, maybe like 2 seconds. But giving it to somebody like Patorikku, or giving it to you, those 2 seconds, you could take those 2 seconds and run off with it.
Yeah. Or like, you take the wrong character at the start of the run and you give your opponent 5 minutes, and that's enough to lose a race. Not saying that's ever happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Nah, don't worry. There's definitely not somebody commentating right now who sold a ribbon at Caravan.
Oh no! Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing about racing a speed game versus doing PB attempts is when you have these mistakes in a race setting, you just have to keep going. There's no, oh, I'm just going to reset. Can we redo the timer? Can we start over? No, you just have to keep going, and you have to adjust to, these mistakes that come up.
Yeah, it's that adaptation reaction aspect coming to this game again.
Yeah, not that either of our runners have really made any serious errors that I've noticed. Both of them have been doing a really good job through here. But, there's plenty of room for mistakes to happen. And, you have to be able to keep your head on your shoulders and react to that in this setting.
Yeah, because the moment you kind of, like, even though I consider this a lull point, if you sit down and, like, take a second to relax, you're most likely gonna slip up. You're, like you said, going after the Astos up until, Lich, you're preparing for that Earth Cave, and that lull, you can kind of use that to prepare. This one, you're I would be preparing for Tiamat 1 here. I'd be kind of looking at my monk HP. Do I need that extra Giant's Tonic? Or do I need to put him in the 4th slot? Is it more worth it, to go to Mount Gulag first, like you did?
Speaking of monk HPs, can we talk about how wonderful the monk HPs for both of our runners are right now?
Yes. You
Like-
love to see that monk HP there.
Nearly 300 on both. That is incredible. Just like this raid we just got from SpeedGaming 7. Welcome on in, everyone.
Oh boy. SpeedGaming 7. Always hyped to see there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see Lukey coming through, going to get his airship, and we're going to see another bit of divergence here because, you know, you got a couple of things you need to do before you can go into Sea Shrine at this point. Well, not a couple of things you need to do before a Sea Shrine. At this point, you can go into Sea Shrine as long as you know, buy the stuff. But there's a couple of things you want to get done first. And
Yeah.
we'll see where our runners go, what their particular routing is. But yeah, like I said, on patorikku's side, is not taking a lot of time to sit back and loot a lot of the chests, and is making up a little bit of ground.
Definitely.
From, you know, that play to save the time and get a little bit less skill.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, you're not too terribly strapped. You're still a little tight, but you have a little more wiggle room right now.
Yeah.
Just because you're getting closer to the end of the game, and Lukey getting the traitorous swamp tile over there for the dragon caves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see Lukey deciding to only raid one half of the first cave, goes over, gets the extra 2,000 gil, or 1,000 at a cottage, depending on how you want to break it down. And gets the 2 out of the 3 healing items that our runners are guaranteed for the final boss.
Three's all you need.
Yup.
I know you can do it with 2, but you're
Why?
not gonna see me do it.
You know, honestly, I've been contemplating getting the secret 4th one that is, you know, way out of the way in the final dungeon.
I mean, you do that for swag at that point. That, or you know, it's the X potion of shame. However you wanna look at it.
Oh no, this is not looking good for Lukey. Just not being able to run away. The party wipes on the overworld, which is gonna set him back to that cave. Luckily, this game has a very generous autosave system. But that is a little bit of time that it's going to take to fly back over and refight this encounter.
Yeah. Although it's definitely a nicer encounter here, only having 1 Hellhound instead of 3. So
Yeah. But, you know, like I was talking about earlier, you know, leaving that 1 Black Mage with only, you know, 40 HP proves to be fatal for that Black Mage in particular.
Yep, it's all about choices.
Yeah.
Now having to stop an on-rack and, you know, have the consequences of those actions of taking like another couple seconds to revive that Black Mage.
Yep. I mean, does Lukey not have any Phoenix down?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, because, like, you know, personally, at this point, I'm not taking any extra steps out of my way. I've picked up some extra Phoenix down that I'm just going to drop on that Black Mage's head and be like, okay, come on, we just gotta keep going.
It's also that, but if Lukey also did not pick up the silver armlets, that, you know, they will take more damage because they're just wearing what they started out with, which was clothes, which is, you know, 1 defense point, and that's at this point in the game not really doing much.
Yeah. That said, for me personally, it's what I expect. It's where I keep this team most of the time, unless I'm extremely flush for gil around Melmond. So, you know, those Black Mages not having a lot of defense, but our runners having a lot of practice and skill with piloting them with said low defense. The other thing that's really nice here is that with the setup we have, 75% of all single target attacks are just useless from the enemies because they're going to go into one of the 2 petrified characters.
Exactly, and that's something we haven't really talked about here. Is we haven't talked about kind of the hidden mechanics behind, or like, well, not necessarily hidden, but just mechanics in the game. First one being the fact that we did have our party, and as like you said, a 75% of a chance of just the attacks missing because they target our stone characters. The reason we have our party set up like that, our warrior has a 50% chance of getting hit, monk is 25, and both of our black mages are 12.5. So if a single attack was to hit, they roll on that table, and 75% of the time, it is useless. 2 other major things about this run, and Leggy, I know you have a lot to say about this diagonal movement.
Oh yeah, like, it's huge. It makes such a difference in how you move through this game in this space compared to other versions of this game. I don't even talk about it because, like, I've played this game so much at this point, this particular version of this game, that going back and playing the other ones, I'm like, wait, why am I only going in a straight line?
Yeah, it's a luxury that Pixel Remaster has, that you don't want to give up moving back to the other one.
Yeah, the other big thing that this game has that not even the PSP version had was auto battle, which you can see with that button in the upper left corner of both of our runner screens. When it's pulsing like that, that means auto battle is on, and our characters are just going to keep on doing whatever they're doing. And time moves a lot faster with auto battle on. So planning and pre-planning character actions around, okay, what enemies are in this area? Do I need to adjust what my characters are doing in case particularly nasty or particularly defensive enemies come up? Is like a thing you're constantly thinking about, even in, like you were talking about the lull sections, even in Ice Cave, I'm constantly thinking about, like, okay, do I want to have Thyraga? Do I want to have Thundaga? Do I want to have both mages casting? Do I want to have 1-and-1 going?
Yep, and on top of that auto battle, there's something else you kind of see. It's not necessarily the most well-stated thing, but if you look in the upper left-hand corners, when Pookie gets into the screen, to a battle screen, and patorikku gets into a battle screen, you see that Pookie's does not flash right away, but patorikku's does. That's because patorikku took a couple of seconds and turned on continuous auto battle, just allowing for a quicker transition into there, in between and out of battles. Very, very nice.
Like, if pay attention when our 2 different runners are getting into an encounter, you will notice the screen transition is a lot faster for patorikku. And
that is the main benefit for continuous auto battle. However, a main drawback, and it's up to you to decide how big of a drawback this is you need to kind of figure out within maybe 1 or 2 seconds if you want to take that encounter. You're not going to have a lot of time due to the fact this is continuous auto battle. If you have it on Thundara and you don't press that X button to stop it like patorikku just did, they're gonna cast Thundaga, or they're gonna cast whatever spell they're gonna cast, or they're gonna flee, they're gonna defend, they're gonna do whatever they were designed to do in that previous battle there.
Yeah.
So,
and the other thing of note is that going into auto battle locks you into whatever you were going to be doing at that point. So you kind of have to be careful, because if you it looked like Lukey was about to sell that elixir.
Look, you do it once, and you will never do it again.
Yeah, no, I haven't done that one yet, but, like, I don't know about you, but my life flashed before my eyes. Not even Lukey's life, my life.
Oh no, I can almost guarantee you, Lukey did have his life flash before his eyes, because, in one of his runs that he was doing, he did sell that like elixir, and he got to chaos. He completed the run, but he's never done it since.
Yeah, both of our runners buying items that might not be familiar to a lot of players if you didn't do a lot of the bonus content in earlier games, specifically GBA PSP. Giant Sonics give you plus 200 HP for the duration of the battle. And the Speed Drink is a agility buff, which ups your hit rate. And these are going to be really useful for some later encounters, specifically Chaos for the Giant Tonics. We were talking earlier about buying an extra one for Tiamat 1 if your monk HP is low enough. Both of our runners are sitting on a very respectable amount of monk HP, so...
Sitting on endgame monk HP.
Right?
And you still have a few levels to get, so that HP is only going to go higher. They're sitting pretty.
Yeah, but Patorikku being like, okay, cool. I am flush with cash. I am just going to max out on high potions, max out on ethers, buy like a dozen Phoenix down. Let's go. Patorikku probably does not need to visit an item shop for the rest of the game.
Yeah, this is kind of the last item shop you do. There's a couple of others, one at Onrak, one at Cornelia, right before you get to Chaos Shrine. If you want to continue to restock, but if not, you're probably just buying everything at Gaia and going on. So, and as we saw, there is that with the Giant Sonics, you do also have the fairy there getting you the Oxyale, allowing you to actually go to the Sea Shrine. We can also see the time that Patorikku has made up, as Pookie is about to enter Sea Shrine, and Patorikku is right behind, cottaging outside of Onrak.
Yep. I am really impressed with how our runners have managed to converge yet again. Patorikku has done an incredible job at making up the gap between the two of them.
Yeah, it goes to a testament, it's a testament to just how comfortable Patorikku is with this. The fact that he's just able to take, think of how far he was behind when he was at Lich, and taking that and just diminishing it to being within a few steps of Luki over here.
Yeah. Patorikku also, taking it a little riskier than Luki has been, which is part of how he's managed to make up that time. Like, both of our runners have been playing incredibly, there aren't any, huge errors that have caused, this gap to close since then.
No selling of ribbons, no selling of elixirs, although we were pretty close.
Yeah, this is just, Pookie, feeling comfortable, feeling safe, grabbing a lot of the extra resources, versus Patorikku going I'm just gonna go.
Yeah. But I think it also kind of speaks, due to the fact I'm not exactly sure. I might be a little more nervous facing Patorikku, as these are both in our pod. Just being this is a person who's under 2 hours, and I'm sitting over here just outside of a 2:15. I'm probably going to be a little more nervous, but Pookie keeping cool under the pressure here, and this run does show that. So
yeah, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is play your game, try to eke out the advantages where you can. You probably know, okay, Riku's a bit more comfortable with a bit more risky strats. If I play it a little safer, I might be able to get through a nasty encounter that, wipes Riku because he's taking it a little faster and looser. And we saw that a little bit with Lich. Though honestly, that was way more RNG than anything Riku did.
Yeah, but that's Lich. I'm interested to see, because Kraken is honestly a non-factor in this race. Just when we get to Kraken, we have our mages, we have six Thundagas, and we have 2 ribbons. So
the only thing we have to worry about is if Kraken decides, hey, I've got arms. Who wants a hug?
Yeah, but I'll roll the dice there and say that I'm pretty safe against his attacks. I'll take the 75.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Kraken doesn't seem to be that big of an issue.
Yeah, Kraken isn't that big of an issue. Wipes are still possible, but it's not going to be like, the chain wipes you see on Tiamat or Lich or Chaos. If Kraken wipes you, it's because he got lucky once. And, you just pack it up, go again, and it's fine.
Yeah. Meanwhile, being in Sea Shrine here, I mentioned this beforehand, but this is a very high EXP area, so you're going to want to take kind of all the encounters that you can get, minus a few, like one white shark or something. But this gets... this just shows, like, how strong the mages will become, because they're wiping everything out with, like, 1 Thundaga, and the encounter's gone.
Yeah, this is also where I personally advocate for what I like to call coin toss strats, where, okay, I'll have 1 black mage casting Thundaga, because that's all I need. I'll have the other one running. If I run away, great, that's extra time. If I blast the encounter to smithereens, I'm also incredibly happy. That's an amazing amount of experience points. But yeah, at this point, I don't even care about my monk HP. I am just sweating looking at those black mage hit point totals. Making sure we get these black mages over 200 or even up to 250 HP over the course of the next couple of dungeons is going to be huge for being able to have enough time to buff the monk going into chaos.
Yeah, but meanwhile, as we're talking about Sea Shrine and all that, can we take a second to realize that patorikku has stolen the lead?
Yeah.
Just ever so quietly, kind of, you wouldn't have noticed it because, well, I certainly didn't, but I was just like, I think that's a floor, after Pookie, and then or Lukey, and took a look over at Lukey's screen, and then he gets to that floor, and I'm just like, when did that happen?
I mean, both of them are on the Giant's Glove chest right about now, patorikku being 1 encounter away, Lukey being in the fight right now as we speak.
Right, but patorikku has the ribbon. Lukey doesn't.
Yeah.
So, patorikku's still ahead here.
Yeah, I did notice that Lukey did do a little extra routing on the mermaid floor. Looting on the mermaid floor, not routing. We're all routing all the time. Picking up a few extra things, probably going to be doing a shopping trip after this dungeon. Just to fill up on resources.
Make sure you have enough ethers.
Yeah. And the other thing, of course, is that, encounters here can be rough, getting one or two extra encounters on this floor or the next floor can be a huge difference maker in how fast you're able to get through and get all the way down to Kraken.
Most definitely. And, you also want to keep a track on your spell charges. We have seen it a couple of times, just black mages attacking. One of the main things that we always try to do is, count spell slots.
Yep.
So, and I mean, you'll mess up on it starting off, or you'll lose track for a second and then try and guess. But
Yeah. And, like, usually I take those moments of, like, okay, am I switching between Blizzaga and Thundaga? Both of which will wipe most enemy packs in this dungeon, to just, like, take that quick peek, realign myself, keep the number in my head. But yeah, no, I'm counting out loud as I'm racing. Okay, I've got, 3-1, 3 Thundaga, 1 Blizzaga.
I kind of do it for mages, so like I'll have like the spell slots and I'll be using like Thundaga, and I was like, okay, I used the Thundaga on the top black mage. It's now 3-4, and then when it goes, when my other black mage does it, like for the next encounter, it'll be 3-3. So that's,
yeah,
to kind of keep it that way.
Yeah, like I'll be tracking. I basically track the same way you do. In some cases I'm keeping track of 2 slots per mage, so it'll be like, okay, 3-2 and 3-1, or 2-4 and 3-2, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I'm trying to keep that information in my head so that I can, make sure that I'm stopping to heal as little as possible. And Kraken, it's like, hey, Patorikku, you're out
Take
of
a hug.
Let's fix that real quick.
Have a hug.
But Patorikku, not really worrying about the fact that Lich technically has an AoE spell here, I think. Goes, nah, you're not going to do anything.
Right here, he has Ink and Attack, I think. That's it.
Okay.
So
It's just the Temple of Fiends version that has the Thundara.
yeah, that has the magical spells of Doom.
Yeah. The other Black Mage for Patorikku going down, but Patorikku still gets through faster than Luki, being our first to light the Water Crystal at just under an hour 36. Pookie, not very far behind, gonna light his crystal,
Yeah,
what, 10 seconds, 15 seconds later?
Something like that. This is basically neck and neck right here.
Yeah. Like,
So,
our runners have been putting on such a good show. If you aren't following them, please do. Every single runner in this tournament is out here trying their darndest to put on, a really good show, do some of the best races that the Final Fantasy 1 community has to offer. And,
I'll go ahead and drop their Twitch channels in the chat right there, because they honestly do deserve the follow. Like,
yeah. And also, thank you to the SpeedGaming family of networks and all their volunteers for helping us, sit out here and ramble out to all you all.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's just absolutely insane the amount of work they put in so, you're able to enjoy Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster speedrun tournament, Link to the Past weekly races, daily races, all like pick a game, and they've probably had it on here. The fact they just,
you do not want to try me on that game. I will pull some very obscure.
all right, look. Okay, Cooking Mama doesn't have a speed run, Leggy.
Yes, it does. I watched Jaden do it.
Okay, Cooking Mama has one runner, Leggy Starscream. But no, they run a plethora of games here, and they, even if there's no Pixel Remaster on, which definitely is going to be on within like the next, like a whole bunch for the next month.
I'll be here tomorrow, running again.
Yeah,
I gotta get my games out.
Same here. I'm actually having a race against Luki tomorrow night, so.
Patorikku, man after my heart, going to Volcano 3rd, let's go! Yeah, actually, Patorikku, following, my personal post-Sea Shrine routing here to a T, stopping in Elfland to pick up the hastes, now coming to Volcano.
I mean, as you stated yesterday, it makes sense. It's right next door. It's not that far out of your way where, if you only have to pick up your haste here and you go to Tiamat and you do everything for Tiamat, then you have to fly all the way back down as well. So you're kind of saving that one trip that might be maybe 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But right now you kind of want relatively every second. This is a neck and neck race here.
Yeah. And so with this route of divergence, with Lukey going straight to Lefane, picking up the chime, we really can't compare where our runners are relative to each other until they get all 4 crystals lit and are about to jump into the time warp to the past.
Basically. The one thing that we can see here that could be another divergence is keeping the monk stoned and having the black mages just blast Blizzagas at Merilith.
Yeah, that was a strat that I learned from Cayuga Nikki, and I was running it for a while. I personally have come back around on de-petrifying the monk right before the Merilith fight.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the Blizzaga fight is also an incredibly viable strategy.
I mean, at that point, it's just another Kraken. So,
Yep.
take 6 Blizzagas, sure.
Yeah, as we see when Patorikku revives the monk, takes the diamond armlet off of the black mage, puts it on the monk, because the monk is the one who really needs the defense right now. Personally, I'm no coward. I don't put the diamond armlet on anyone but the monk. But that's probably going to cost me over the course of a number of runs.
Maybe? I mean, if your mages don't go down, that's, you know, maybe a few seconds time save there. So,
yeah,
you know,
versus the time loss of a few seconds for the extra menuing, so it might even just be a wash.
but again, safety, like risk and reward.
Exactly. As we see, you know, Patorikku buffing up that monk, using haste and temper, 2 spells we haven't really talked about yet, but are honestly, in my opinion, the 2 most powerful spells in Final Fantasy 1. We talk about Blizzaga, it does a truckload of damage. We talk about Nuke. We can talk about, you know, things like Warp and Kill and Quake. But no, Haste, your melee attacker is now dealing double damage. Temper, your melee attacker is now doing an extra 16-inch damage per hit.
Yeah. Definitely 2 very strong spells. And when we actually get to Chaos, or to later boss fights, especially Chaos, we will see haste coming out from them. As for me, putting haste on a 1 encounter boss instead of something like the golems, where it makes more sense, I have a little bit of, you know, is it a good turn for, like, is it a bad turn for you? Is it a good turn for you? And, you know, if they go ahead.
Yeah. When enemies cast haste, I'm terrified. When I'm casting haste, I am ready to just rip and tear through whatever's in front of me.
See, here's my thing with, like, Chaos casting haste, or, like, you know, one enemy casting haste. Haste in and of itself is a very scary spell because of what can happen afterwards.
Correct.
Because it just allows you to attack more, that's more damage, that's going to hurt more, that's going to wipe you more. The problem is right away at that turn, it does nothing. It is at that turn a net 0 spell on Chaos. It is net 0. If Chaos attacks you afterwards, haste is now a net positive spell. The longer he takes and doesn't attack you after he's hasted, that has now become a net negative turn for Chaos, allowing you to kind of get away with whatever you want.
Right. it sets things up. It also means that I have to play a bit more defensively because of the potential of just getting blown out later, especially on Chaos in particular, because a hasted Chaos will do anywhere from like 700 to 800 damage per physical attack round. Haste doesn't necessarily just represent a free turn until you get punched. It also changes how I plan my healing for the Chaos fight in subsequent turns.
And that is true. Because it does whether or not you want to. Because now you have to worry. Like now, all of a sudden, you're at below 800. We'll say he hit. I've seen him hit for 817. Sadly, no War Mech for Lukey. But he hits for 817. Which will then put you in heal lock, and at that point, it's a reset. If he keeps attacking you.
Yeah.
Because you're just not going to survive that onslaught. But with him casting haste, and you're at that 500, you need to heal. Like, do you heal at that 500, or do you try to go that extra turn? And again, that goes back to what we've brought up multiple times: risk and reward.
Yeah, and like 500 is, a really interesting, hit point threshold to be at in general on Chaos, but we can talk about that a lot later. Right now, there's a dragon on screen. She's scary. Tiamat, Queen of the Dragons, coming out strong. Bunch of AoE magic, every single breath of every other dragon. We're seeing Giant's Glove was also used for the first time. The Saber spell, it's basically temper but better. It also gives you
10 to accuracy.
Yes, that one. Both of the Black Mages going down. Tiamat hitting her third Blaze Breath in a row, taking out the entire party for Lukey.
And this
is where we get into the final gauntlet, especially if you're doing Tiamat last.
Exactly. And Tiamat is that wall. Patorikku kind of put it off, potentially got a little bit of extra experience, maybe a level from Merilith, depending on how close he was to the level. But Lukey over here sitting at relatively the same spot, potentially, because I don't... Like, while I'm watching both screens, I have two eyes, and they can't both watch the same, one screen at a time.
Yeah. Lukey re-equipped the staff when optimizing the monk's equipment. Luckily, you can take it off in this version.
Okay, that is never fun to see.
Yeah. This is looking okay for now. The Black Mage is going to be able to throw out a potion, healing that monk back up. Going to come out with another AoE spell. This does not wipe the Black Mage, but Tiamat goes down for Lukey.
2 turns at Tiamat, especially in a race setting, I will take that any day of the week, especially since I consider Tiamat 1 to be the second worst boss in the entire game. Hands down.
Same, 100%. She is so brutal. But yeah, speaking of, we were talking earlier about D&D, and we've got, our Beholder, the Evil Eye, on screen. We also have Tiamat, Goddess of Dragons in D&D, taken from an ancient Mesopotamian goddess herself.
Yeah, there's just a whole bunch, you see, Medusa, which is, from Greek lore, which, also a D&D monster. You have your Elementals, which are D&D monsters. A lot of this game can definitely be stated was inspired by D&D, so...
Yep.
Vampires... You have mummies and king mummies, which D&D equivalents are mummies and mummy lords.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
have the Mind Flayer, have the Lich.
Yeah, this game wears all of its influences on its sleeve, and that's, one of the things that I absolutely love about Final Fantasy 1 as a game.
Most definitely. And you can have a blast just kind of putting, like... I do want to see a campaign made from this. Maybe not the entire story ripped from it, but put your own little spin on it, and you'll have a blast. I know Stranger in Paradise is another one where could be the D&D campaign.
Yep. And if you haven't played Stranger in Paradise, if the whole marketing about I'm just here to kill chaos, killing chaos, turned you off, play it. It is incredible. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I definitely do want to play it. I think it's only for PS5 though. Sad boy hours.
No, there's a PC release.
Oh, there's a PC release?
Mm-hmm.
Epic Games?
I believe it's Steam.
Ooh. Might have to look
It
into
might
it.
be Epic. I'd have to double check what platform it's on. Sadly, no War Mechs today. We still got one in... Okay, chat says it's probably still Epic exclusive.
I'm gonna trust chat here.
Yeah, no. Neon in chat is, my fellow Stranger of Paradise aficionado. If there's anyone whose opinion about that game I trust, it's Neon's.
So. Oh, yep. Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely trust Twitch here. But we can see Pookie on Merilith, patorikku on...
Yeah.
Jeez. Luki, because I keep reading the screen. Luki on Merilith, patorikku finishing Tiamat. So I'm thinking patorikku's a tad bit ahead here, maybe by like a minute and a half, but that's probably all I'm going to give him.
Yeah, this is very close, I fully expect Merilith to fall right here.
Yep. You couldn't have called it any better, really.
Yeah, it's going to come down to... the lead right now is going to come down to transit time. Who gets to the Temple of Fiends faster? patorikku is through the last encounter he's going to see before he gets to Temple of Fiends. Luki will not have to see an encounter because of where the airship is.
Mm-hmm.
patorikku playing it safe, stopping in Crescent Lake to restock on consumables. I don't hate this, though it is going to let Luki take the lead and be the first of our runners into the final dungeon, into the final gauntlet, at just over an hour 52.
Exactly, but you're basically getting into the one point where you being in the lead no longer matters, especially this close.
Our runners are talking to the Black Orb 5 seconds apart right now. This is literally anyone's game, except no, it isn't. This game belongs to Chaos.
Basically, it does that, and Chaos knows. Chaos knows.
Yeah.
So. He'll decide that on who gets to finish first. He always has the final say, but eventually the house will lose. It may take a few minutes, but the house will lose.
It's just right now, any lead is just a little more time to keep trying.
Yeah, you're not wanting to see a wipe from Chaos. I'm sure Luki's kind of thinking that Patorikku is probably a little further, if not on pace, step for step for him. So, might start feeling the pressure here within a couple minutes. Patorikku is probably feeling the same way. You can't. The moment you try to think you're ahead of the runner here at this point, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, like at this point, I imagine both of these runners are just waiting for the dot done to come out.
Definitely. You're approaching that 2-hour mark. Yeah, that dot done's coming out at any second.
Luki through at 35 seconds. Patorikku going to be there very soon. But yeah, they're still seconds apart.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically 20 seconds apart here. Exactly.
Yeah. And like, let's face it, you know, we're talking about chaos. We're hyping up chaos for a good reason. But we still have to get through the other fiends, which are no slouches in their own right. Lich can cast Nuke, which will basically wipe out all of the black mages I see on screen.
Yeah, look, we don't talk about Nuke because commentators curse them to where they'll get like double nuked. Because you know you'll just say there's no way that there will be 2 nukes coming out, and then Lich is just like, I heard 2 nukes.
Marilith and Kraken have some devastating physical attacks. You thought Kraken HUD's hurt before? Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. Tiamat maintains her onslaught of AoE magic, though it is honestly a little easier to mitigate down here because you just have a few more hit points running around generally.
Yeah, honestly, Tiamat 2 kind of got hit with the nerf bat. I think they more or less copy paste. Because Tiamat 2 is supposed to be the last one you face, so to
she's
Tiamat 2.
She's got a lot more hit points, but, you know, she doesn't have a lot more bite, which I appreciate.
Most definitely.
And then, of course, you know, down here on the elemental floors, we do have some particularly nasty packs floating around, especially as we get deeper. Though the ability to run away is also really nice.
Yeah, and since these are the elemental floors, if you know the elemental weakness of, you know, Lich, Marilith, and Kraken, as, you know, if you take a look around the floating fortress and the Mirage Tower, Tiamat has no weakness. You can use those spells on the elemental floors where you face Lich 2, Marilith 2, you know,
well,
Kraken 2.
Actually, Marilith technically is not weak to ice.
Really?
No, she is not. Ice spells just hit harder because, you know, they're higher level.
Fair enough.
Yeah, additionally, Tiamat does have an elemental weakness. It just does not come up anymore. She's actually weak to Stone Poison, which only show up in your Black Mage spell list as insta-kill magic. And in this version alone, all bosses are weak to are immune to instant kill magic. I have hit Tiamat with Scourge in the GBA version before.
Huh. Interesting. Meanwhile, we were talking about Claire.
It's rough, but Patorikku's 260 HP Black Mage is healthy enough to actually survive that flare coming out. Chaos playing around with Warp, which doesn't do anything at this stage of the game because of all of our ribbons. And we see Lich crumbling at the same time on both runners' screens.
I think Patorikku might be like a second behind, as it took a little bit longer to get the pixels off the screen. But they're basically at the same point.
Yeah, Patorikku also needing to take that extra second to revive the Black Mage and heal up. But Luki is definitely going to want to heal before going to the Marilith fight, so that time is a wash. Like, again, you know, this race is not over until we see chaos crumble on either side.
Yeah. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if one runner finishes and then 10 seconds later another one does. That's how this race is going, and I love it.
Yeah, being like, imagine saying nuke to Pixel Remaster friends, and to that I have to say, look, I've done development work for 3 different randomizers for this game, including the NES version. I know the NES version basically like the back of my hand. I still call it the slab. Y'all know what I mean, and if you don't, well, I will gladly explain if you ask.
Just like how there's dynamite.
Yeah, the nitro powder, or TNT in the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't want to confuse people. I am just very, very accustomed to referring things by their NES names. You know, of course, habit.
I just kind of picked it up after a while. Like, I know what you're talking about when you say the slab. I know what nuke is because, well...
Oh, Lukey getting the scariest Tiamat 2 fight I've seen in a hot minute.
Tiamat 2?
Just going down. Merilith 2. You knew what I meant this time too. I was just wrong.
Yeah, I was sitting here, but like, whoa, Tiamat's looking way different. Heads for arms.
You know, I
6 heads, 6 arms.
Before, where you've got like heads on the ends of your arms instead of hands.
There's probably worse things to have happened in, you know, ancient myth.
But yeah, no, Lukey getting out with 21 HP on that fighter after Merilith decides to just punch at a statue, you know, like it was a punching bag for a little bit. Finally
was convinced by the imitation of the cardboard cutout warrior.
Right. But honestly, if I had to pick any floor of this dungeon to be the most terrifying to me, it's this one. The sea floor is the longest floor you have to walk through, and because it's so long, you have to fight a lot of really strong, physically attacking enemies, and especially because both of our runners have that monk in the back slot, one of those black mages is getting hit 25% of the time by all these really strong physical attacks.
Yeah, but at this point, I'd rather have it be the black mage than the monk. This,
100% same. I'm just saying, you know, you have to stop and heal because you're fighting, you know, God, like what, 8, 9, 10 encounters depending on your luck?
Oh, definitely. I do consider this floor scary because just of how much walking you have to do. Lich floor is also pretty long as well, though.
Yeah, Lich floor is long, but the encounters aren't nearly as threatening, in my opinion. And then, of course, the last 2 floors of this, you're only going to see 1 encounter each over the course of them, so I can handle 1 fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of our runners on Kraken.
Meanwhile,
on Patorikku's side, going out with a Thundara. Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, but Patorikku's actually now in the lead as well. Lukey taking the time to heal up, so Patorikku was actually the first one to enter Kraken.
Yeah, Patorikku's HP totals in general looking absolutely incredible. That 400, nearly 440 HP on the Black Belt and the 260 on the top Black Mage being, you know, just incredibly good rolls for here. Whereas on Lukey's side, both of those Black Mages having about the same bracket of HP, as it were.
Yeah, but, you know, it's not terrible. You're just gonna end up falling to chaos a lot more.
Yeah, like, Lukey's Black Mage HP isn't bad, it's expected. and Patoriku accidentally flubbing and leaving the auto battle on, doing a punch from the monk and defense on the black mages, meaning he's going to need to take an extra turn here. Luki retakes the lead going into Tiamat after running away from an encounter very quickly. Though, I 100% agree with Patoriku taking that fight there. Purple worms are worth so much experience.
Yeah, this game, or, well, especially in Chaos Shrine. Sorry, not game, but this dungeon, Chaos Shrine. Very high EXP encounters, but they do take a bit to clear. Probably 1 to 2 turns, but at this point where you're trying to get through the bosses as fast as possible, because you've sat down, it's now 2 hours. You have basically you're at movie length now.
Yep.
You're kind of sitting down. You're probably wanting a bit of a break here.
Yeah, my bladder is yelling at me.
So you're wanting that, to be.
So, Patoriku is through the Tiamat fight slightly faster. Chat pointing out that Patoriku has 3 levels on Luki right now. Patoriku's levels being around 32, whereas Luki's being around 29.
It's not like world record takes it at 28, so
yeah,
they're well within the specs of what can be done with Chaos as of right now, unless Shigeru wants to come in with like level 25 strats for whatever reason.
Right? But yeah, both of our runners going into their first Chaos fight at basically the same time. Like, it's gonna come down to who can make one of these fights stick. Chaos fights can go a couple of different ways. One of the things we have to watch out for is Chaos can decide to end a run very early. This is the second best outcome to winning the whole thing. Having a fast wipe is always preferable to having a slow wipe.
Yeah, that one Black Mage going down.
Yeah, whereas on Patoriku's side, the monk gets punched turn 1, the fighter gets punched turn 2. Perfect setup. Patoriku is all ready to go and start the process of buffing up that monk into the stratosphere.
Yep.
Luki also doing the same thing, but it's going to be a little slower. He's only got 1 black mage up.
There is a problem here as well. He only has 1 haste. So let's keep that in mind. And there's haste for Patoriku. Net 0 turn for Chaos. See what happens there. As haste is a very weird spell to kind of calculate.
Yeah. Luki getting a few turns to get a little extra healing off, punching for just under 2,500. As a tsunami comes out on Patoriku's side, Patoriku hitting for a lot, but Chaos knocks down that monk. We have our first wipe of the night, folks.
Hopefully
we'll see how many more it takes.
Hopefully not many more to come.
Yeah. Back on Luki's side, going all in. The monk is hitting for just over 2,000 drop. Slowra coming out, removing the haste from the monk. That is going to cause Luki to stop, accidentally throw a potion the wrong way, is only hitting for very little damage at this point.
Yeah, you don't. You're wanting that restart. You're wanting that restart.
Back on Patoriku's side, who's got a head start. 1 black mage is already down, but that monk is buffed up. Only needed to use 2 giant sonics. Only using 2 giant sonics here because the monk's HP is so good at this point. Using the 3rd and the 2nd round, which is a strat I've seen a lot more recently. Black mage goes down, X potion goes out, monk's back up at the HP cap.
Yep. Speed drink's coming up, and now you're on to kind of Giant's gloves here. getting up those tempers. We're probably going to see maybe 5 turns of the Giant's Gloves, so we've got a little bit. Luki getting back into Chaos here, taking that Blizzara. That's definitely what we want to see first off, taking the slower entrance of the 3 Giant Sonics first turn. Not setting up as fast here. But
also getting that, health already on the Monk, though, as we see, with the slower entrance, the 2 big AoEs take out Luki's Black Mages, haste doesn't come out, and unfortunately Luki takes another wipe, but that one's a lot faster. That's actually not the worst. If patorikku wipes here, which is entirely possible, if Chaos goes for that's a slow ra. But haste did go out. We'll see what happens here. Gonna res one of the Black Mages to try and get the haste back up on the Monk, which is a strat I've seen. I really actually like this, because, if you get lucky like you did here, you get the ability to just take, an extra hit, while you have haste
seeming
back
like
up.
Chaos going down here, though.
Yeah.
It's looking very favorable. And that's Chaos down at a 210.
GG to patorikku. What a race!
That was absolutely insane.
I'd say it was definitely incredible, and definitely one to watch back. This is one for the history books, folks.
Definitely. Like, I know watching watching back, you saw Shanezel versus Thunderclawed, which, that was like prime time race here. Shanezel versus Priyachu, another prime time race. This one definitely coming up there as well in that kind of prime time race slot, and it did deliver so well.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see if Pookie can get Chaos to cooperate. 49, that's what we love to see. That's 4 turns there. So probably at a little over 16k. That brings him down to 10. That's now 5,000 HP. 1 more hit should be able to do it. Now 2 more. That's 2.
Come on.
This last hit should do it here. And there
Luki.
we go. At 2:11:39. A minute and a half behind. Almost to the dot.
Yeah, and this could have easily gone either way, if Riku had slightly worse luck on Chaos. That's
also
it becomes Luki's race to win.
Also, that's a 209.18 on board. Okay, 211. Darn, I thought he kind of PB'd there for a second. I was about to be.
It was definitely close. You said 209?
Yeah, 209. If Chaos was just a little bit nicer, that was a PB.
Yeah, no. We are seeing our runners go at the limits of their abilities and beyond.
So, but that is just absolutely insane. It really did come down to the final few punches of Chaos. So, I honestly don't know, if it can be, any better than that, really.
Yeah,
you saw major route divergences, and they had more or less next to no effect. You saw lead changes at very not interesting times, but like just all over the place. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, like that is the joy and terror of this game. That tension and being at the whims of an angry demon thing. I don't know what chaos is. Evil,
Right.
mostly. You know, you're just trying to go through and do what you can. But as you can see here, there's still a lot of skill involved. There's a lot of questions around, like, okay, how do I get through, you know, whatever the game decides to throw at me today as fast as possible to make, you know, this work.
Yeah, meanwhile, let's see if we can actually get any of them in here. As we do kind of want to hear their thoughts, at least I do. So I want to hear, I want to hear like personal route choices. We saw the.
Yeah, like, we saw, you know, a fair bit of route divergence. We saw, you know, a little extra looting from Lukey, but Lukey was able to turn that into some really good time advantages with the extra stuff he had. We saw the difference between going Marilith first versus Tiamat first, and, you know, I think we can say that that was net neutral for both our runners. It was just really cool to see them doing different things.
Most definitely.
We even saw some really interesting early game routing where we saw one of our runners picking up haste super early and, you know, having slightly less resources going into Earth Cave.
Yep. You saw like small divergences in Earth Cave, where to pick up items, when to get tempers, when to get all that fun stuff. It seems like Patorikku getting set up to join us here within a couple of seconds, so we will see how that plays out.
And I think that is him. And we also have Lukey. GG's to both of you. What an incredible race. Holy cow.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate that. It was close. Heartbreaking to be just that close.
Like, honestly, that was almost a PB for you if Chaos was just a little bit nicer. That was insane.
Yeah, he knocked me down to one hit and then flared me at like 30 health. Just kind of seems kind of rubbing it in a little bit.
Right.
You got him back though. You punched for like 5k. He felt that. He'll feel that tomorrow.
Yeah, I've never had a black mage make it all the way to the end. It was pretty weird. It was like, I'm done with tempers. Please just die.
Exactly.
But it was a lot of fun. It was pretty hectic at the beginning. I could not keep the black mages alive at the beginning.
No, both of you were having a little bit of an issue there with your black mages. So, not much, but like, to put this in perspective, it was almost a minute and 30 like, basically a minute and 30 seconds between both of you finishing. And you all were switching leads throughout the whole entire race.
That's great to hear. That makes it more interesting. So I'm glad.
No, this was like the best primetime speed gaming material you could have asked for.
Oh yeah, like, I don't know if you two talked at all since the race is finished, but hey, Patorikku, how many times did Lich 1 take you out?
4, I want to say.
Oh.
Astos got me 4 or 5, which was just amazing.
Yeah, no, you definitely had like some really just rough luck early on. Both of you had, really good, execution, really good management of non-boss encounters, but just this game's bosses really know how to keep people on their toes. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah. But my problem was, by the time I got to Astos, both the mages had like no extra strong level ups, so they were both at like 110 HP, and Astos would just one shot him with like a Fyra or a Thundara a couple of times. Like one of them might live, and then it just wasn't enough. Also, I didn't have the black belt either. Like he had died, and I had already used up my Phoenix down getting one of the mages back.
Yeah, like we saw the end of the Astos fight, which I'm gonna say that you kind of just wanted to move on, where only the warrior was alive with 11 HP in a dream.
If that was my first attempt at him, I probably would have just reset and just gone in again. But after Astos killed me 4 times, I just had to get out of there. I was like, all right, I'm done.
Are you doing double Thundara, or are you doing the Temper?
I was doing the Temper, but on
yikes.
the fighter, which isn't as good, but he can still take Astos down.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
One of the main things that I saw, and I first saw this in yesterday's race against Pookie and Leggy Starscream, was getting the hastes at Elfheim and then going to Mount Gulag. Is I know it's right next door. I had this conversation with Leggy yesterday, but that was a huge divergence for you. Is there any reason you decided to do that over going to Tiamat, Pato?
I usually do Marilith before Tiamat. I just figure because I'm near the inner sea, I'll just go take care of that. Today I couldn't pick up the haste, or I didn't want to pick up the haste earlier because, I was planning to take a lot more fights because the black mages just never had any HP, and from the beginning it became very clear that okay, I'm gonna have to take every fight, and so I needed the extra money for getting extra ethers so that I can make it through these extra dungeons. So I usually get the haste right after I get the airship, but today I pushed it off until after the getting the slab translated. But the Marilith thing, I usually do that. That's, I don't know, I just like finishing on Tiamat and just going for it.
Okay, and then 1 haste or 2 haste? Let's hear the sides of the argument here. Do you buy 1 haste or 2 haste, and why?
Well, you buy 1, doesn't stack. Why would you buy 2? I only need 1 mage to cast it.
I usually go with 2 just in case Kraken takes, or just in case Chaos takes one of them down. The other one's there as a backup, and I can fight through the setup with just 1 mage.
We have a runner, Shane Zell. I sometimes I'll watch his runs, and before he goes to the Dwarf Cave, before he does all of Earth Cave, he buys like 6 ethers, right? So if he's only going with 6 ethers, I feel like during the whole running around getting the Jolt Tonic and the key and everything, I'll just buy the haste then, and then I'll never come back to Elfheim. I never have to see any of these elves ever again. And so I only have money for the one. I only need to cast it once. And that's always been my thought. So I just buy it then.
Yeah, that's not a bad strategy. I usually pick up Fyra too after I beat Estes. But today, because I literally had only one character alive, and it was the wrong character, I had to get the other 3 up. I was like, I'm just not gonna have money for this, so I just bought. So I skipped it today, but usually I do that and then save myself a lot of money in ethers.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen a lot more Fyras come out in this tournament than I would have thought people would be running with. So
I picked it up in the tournament. I started doing it for the tournament.
But like, I don't think before this tournament, unless we're moving to like a Fyra meta, maybe we're all just agreeing that Fyra is just better overall than just straight Thundara. Maybe us Thunder only will become the plebeians.
Yeah,
instead
no,
of Mega Chad Fyras.
I'm holding my ground on that one. I'm never going to buy Fyra. You can't make me. I will lose a race first.
But then you just don't have to think ever in Ice Cave. You just run.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fyra for Ice Cave is the way to go. But I guess I'll say that when I beat you, huh? How about that?
We will definitely see. Anyway, I know you have another race coming up tomorrow, Pookie, as you're kind of giving us a 3 days of Final Fantasy 1.
Roku, I think you also have a race tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's actually against you.
Yeah, I think it is.
So it'll be nice being on the other side of the screen. Although I do like commentating. Be nice to be kind of off the mic here for at least a run for a little bit.
Yeah, they'll get you back in afterwards. You know you aren't escaping the interview.
I'm not. I know I'm not escaping the interview. I will try to sneakily dodge it and then have the bot ping me anyways.
Yeah, I've also got my 3rd race tomorrow. I'm currently sitting at 1-1.
Nice. So, this is gonna be my 2nd race. And then,
wait, when is your game tomorrow, Leggy?
7 p.m. same time as this one was.
Ooh.
So,
all right.
We've got all of that coming up, and then Pato has one on Saturday as well. Versus Cabin of the Dorks. Is there anything you want to say about that race, Pato, coming up on Saturday?
I just really hope that my mages have HP on Saturday. Like, that's it. Just please let me get a nice 140 HP around Lich. All right, that's all I ask.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But that's just what we've got going on here. There will be races, all over SpeedGaming for the next couple of weeks. So please keep your eyes out. Please come out and support not only SpeedGaming, but also the Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster tournament. If you found this race exciting, if you want to learn to run this game, please join the Discord. I swear we don't bite.
Yeah, everyone's very great. Everyone's wonderful in the Discord.
Yeah, no,
and this has been a fun experience. I really appreciate everybody's hard work on it.
Yeah, no, the community itself is very, very nice, and the game is very easy to speedrun. I know it looked a lot harder with how they were doing things, but that's just because the race was so close. But you know, overall, run is pretty easy to get into, and it's a very fun run to watch and a very fun run to do. So,
yeah, very enjoyable, easy to pick up, and yeah, just there's so many little things that you can just do and make it your own. Like everybody basically runs a different route. Like, at a high level, it's all the same, but so many little differences throughout this entire tournament that you just see like different people doing different things at different times, and it's just kind of amazing.
And racing is so much. I love the races because it's like there's so many things happen where you're like, well, I would never finish this run, but I have to. So, what are we gonna do about this?
Well, any last-minute thoughts from anyone? I think it's about time we wrapped up this show and sent things on to wherever people are going on to next. I see a couple of things floating around the various speed gaming channels.
Ooh,
But
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. And any last thoughts from anyone before we get this show out on the road?
Good show, patorikku. Thank you so much. Good race.
Yeah, thank you. Great race, man.
is
Look
there
forward to seeing you race some more, Pookie.
Great.
yeah, is there anything you want to say to your future, like the people, your future opponents? Like you want to talk any like pregame smack as much as like, you know, PG pregame smack can be. Gonna get some High School Musical levels of like, you're going down.
Yeah, Roku. I'll see you in your tonight, I guess. You know?
No. No, I'm excited for our race, Lukey. So I will definitely see you tomorrow, and I'll be sure to bring my A game. I gotta have to if you're gonna start putting up times like this on a consistent basis.
Hey man, when I trash can you, it's out of respect, you know? It's because I'm taking you seriously.
If I trash can you first, we'll get the kindergarten comebacks going. Let's go.
No, you. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right.
But I think with that, we're all gonna head out. Feel free to go and watch some other speed gaming channels. But we'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.